All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome into the latest episode of the CB Sports Podcast. I'm very happy to be back on Zoom. I'm very happy to be back on my feet. Some of you know I had a little bit of an ankle injury that's kind of held me down a little bit, but I'm back today with a new episode. Very excited to bring on my good friend Steve Wrona. Steve just competed in a bodybuilding competition down in Tampa, Florida. Did very well. Steve is big into fitness. He's a trainer, and he's given me some good advice over the years. I'm certainly going to need some because I haven't really been able to exercise much lately. But I'm very excited to have him. So let's welcome in Steve Wrona. Here we go. All right, Steve, you should be able to unmute yourself now, I believe.
I think, am I unmuted now?
You're good. Yep. All right. Much better. Perfect.
Okay. I'm going to rename myself. I'm using my wife's laptop.
Yeah, that's all right.
There you go.
Cool. All right, man. So it's good to have you on. I was just saying that, this is, I think this is my fourth episode I've done of this. As I was telling you last week, it's kind of been it's been a very sports centric thing. But I'm trying to branch out into different directions. I mean, obviously we're talking sports related topics today. But I've never done anything like this before. So I'm excited to get into it. And, if you want to we'll get into the, kind of your competition and all that in a minute, but if you kind of want to just take a minute to tell everybody, what you're all about, what you're doing, your training,
Sure.
all that, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. So Chris and I actually grew up together in Massachusetts, went through high school and everything together, and I'm currently living in Florida now, but this whole journey for me started when I was about 16 years old. I got involved in weight training and did that for the sport of wrestling in high school, and I kind of never looked back. I ended up pursuing it in college, went for exercise science, got my bachelor's in that, and I've been a trainer for the past 5 years or so. But I've just been, involved in all different areas of fitness for as much of my life as I can really remember. And most recently, the reason for Chris having me on this podcast is to talk about my experience with my bodybuilding competition that I just did. And this was my first one. Yep. So it was definitely a new experience for me. I've always been a fan of the sport of bodybuilding. I've always kind of bodybuilded on a very amateur level without any serious coaching until recently.
Right.
And always been a fan of the sport, but never really learned what really goes into it until most recently. And man, I have a whole new appreciation now, I'll tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it's interesting you say that because, you've definitely, taken the weight. Yeah. For, a long time, you've taken the weightlifting thing seriously. And I've always been, interested in it as well. We were talking about like that documentary Pumping Iron. I remember I watched that, quite a while ago. And I never really seen any kind of competition like that before, the Mr. Olympia contest that they were participating in. It was really cool. And that's actually the video I was going to show. I think I can probably get it now.
So yeah, we can put it in.
Yeah, we can put it in right now. So I'll put it on, we'll watch it. It's kind of funny. It's Lou Ferrigno. So let me see if I can get this going. Just tell me if you can see this.
Yeah, we're screen sharing, so let's see.
So you can see this okay?
Yep. Oh yeah.
All right, so this is kind of a classic. So all right, here we go.
1.5. You think we need more weight, Hank? All right. Good. Here, we got 10 right here.
Hands to the
Maybe
back, I do curls.
Thank you.
Come on, what's 10 good reps, Louie? 10 good reps, come on. Come on, Louie. Come on, Louie. Come on. Come on, Louie. Come on, Louie. No more. Come on, more. Get it. Come on. Good boy. That's good boy, Louie.
Classic.
It is classic, and from what I understand, that documentary was kind of like the mainstream world's kind of introduction to the sport. That must have been in like the 1970s. Like, before that, not many people, it was kind of like a niche sport, like, but Arnold and Lou, like those guys really brought it to the mainstream. And, it's obviously changed a lot since then. Guys probably train a lot different than that. But yeah, I remember seeing that a little while ago and think that was really neat. So yeah, let's jump into this here. So
Sure, man.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no, I definitely would say that you could attribute bodybuilding's popularity to Arnold and Lou starting it off with mostly Arnold actually, but
right,
yeah, they definitely jump started in the 70s, and it's been an evolving sport ever since then up till modern day.
definitely. All right, so I'm just pulling up my slides. So the competition you competed in was the NPC Tampa Extravaganza, right?
Yeah, that's right. It was part of a pro-am show here in Tampa. It's actually right down the street from where I'm currently living.
Can you see that
So
okay?
yeah, pretty cool. Some slides from the show.
Yeah, so this was all from competition day. Correct?
Yep. Yeah, the first picture there on the top left, I guess you can see that was backstage when I was posing, practicing some of my poses with the coach.
Mhm.
You got two of my back poses up there, and then a picture of me with some of my medals.
Yeah. So I guess, talk about how, because you've been training for years and lifting for years. How was the process training for this different than just say, training for wrestling or football or a strength competition or.
Well, obviously, the biggest difference there is that aesthetics is the main goal. I mean, you're trying to train for to maintain your strength and everything like that. But the real goal of this, it's almost like they they've compared bodybuilding to like a human dog show. I mean, you want to make sure that you're showing yourself in your best light. All your muscle groups are really well defined, but also you've got to kind of perfect the art of like losing body fat while maintaining as much size and shape in each muscle group as possible and evenly conditioning the entire body. So
Hmm.
we follow a body part training split to make sure that every muscle gets the attention that it needs to really show off on stage. But I'll tell you, like the diet and everything
Yeah,
combined
yeah,
with
that'd be
the
great.
training is it's a pretty rigorous process.
Now, is there like in terms of diet, I mean, that's such a huge thing nowadays. Like people will hear about people losing weight, people getting in shape following keto diet, paleo diet, this, that, whatever. Was there a specific one you followed, or did you kind of just come up with your own meal plan and go for it from there?
Well, the cool thing about that is actually I hired a coach, and I
Mhm,
did so because my wife decided I wouldn't have done this without her. She
mhm.
decided that she was going to, randomly decided one day, hey, I want to be, I want to get on stage and do a bikini competition. So
Yep.
I said, man, you know what? I've always wanted to kind of do one of those myself, not bikini, but bodybuilding. I'm like, if you're going to do it, then I'll look into getting into prep myself and maybe try and do a bodybuilding show so we could do it together. And we looked into a coach and ended up hiring him, and he's been working with both of us.
Mhm.
And I just decided to do my show first because I wanted to get that experience. I was ready a little bit sooner because I've been training for a really long time, and
Right.
he wrote the whole diet for me. So
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't really know what I was eating for how many calories, how much grams of protein, this or that. I
Hmm.
just knew the portion sizes of what I was eating, the foods that I was allowed to eat, and when I had to eat them throughout the day, and what supplements I had to take throughout the process.
Cool.
So, for example, he gave me a meal plan to start off when I first started working with him, and this was about a 12-week, 11 or 12 weeks. I prepped for this competition.
Mhm.
And right out of the gate, the meal plan was 6 meals a day. Started out with an egg white omelet, which I got 8 egg whites and 2 yolks. We've been going through eggs like crazy in this household. It's been nuts.
Sure.
Literally, I think we do like 140 eggs a week or so. We were when I was on prep
Wow.
too. It was
Yeah.
insane. I was doing 16 eggs a day myself. I mean,
Wow.
only 4 of those were egg yolks, so we threw a lot of yolks away. But
Hmm.
he wanted us to use real eggs. I mean, you get them pretty cheap at Walmart. But anyways, I was on 6 meals a day, and I knew what the portions were for like what I was allowed to eat. For most of them were like 8 ounces of protein and 6 ounces of potatoes, or 6 ounces or a half a cup of rice, or he would
Yeah.
give me what the specific ingredients were, and then lay it out in a schedule for me, and I just followed what he gave me.
Oh, that's great. And it sounds pretty practical too. Like, I remember, it's been years since I've done this. I've had some injuries and stuff that have been unfortunate, but my brother and I were big into doing those like Tough Mudder things back in the day, and we would train for those, and we would do programs like a P90X to train for those. And they would give you a diet plan with that, but it was so like, number one, I was in my, I cook a little bit now, but certainly when I was 24, 25, I definitely wasn't cooking for myself then. And it was just kind of overcomplicated. So that, that sounds like it's, like you said, it's laid out and it's not, you can get your ingredients at Walmart. You don't have to go to Whole Foods or,
Right,
anything, it's going to break the bank, or, you have to be a professional chef to do. Like,
Yeah, and
that's pretty
actually,
cool.
I'll talk a little bit about that too. So I guess we did start saving a little bit of money initially on, we weren't going out to eat anymore because we were both eating this meal plan.
Right.
I'm extremely fortunate because I got to give my wife a lot of credit because she cooked pretty much all my meals for the whole prep. She's actually a private chef, and she
Oh, that's
does
great.
a meal prep business that we work on together. And she was
Mhm.
able to take care of a lot of the stress for me with the meals and organization and stuff. And
Cool.
I would say, going back to what your question was before, is how is bodybuilding different than any other sport that I'd ever done? And
Mm.
really the biggest difference is that there is zero time in your day that you are not bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is not just the time that you spend in the gym. It's not just the time that you spend posing. It's not just the time that you spend shaving your legs and arms and all that other stuff to get ready. It's
Right.
literally like 24/7, dude. You're like considering everything that's going into your body, and you're following this meal plan. And mentally, as the meal plan and everything gets stricter and stricter, and you're not allowed to really take a break from that meal plan, it's just you're
Right.
living it 24/7. You gotta regiment your whole schedule around it. I mean, I had to definitely make adjustments to my work schedule to accommodate my bodybuilding training.
Yep.
Fortunate enough to be able to do that in my field. And I regimented my sleep schedule. I started going to bed earlier, getting up
Mhm.
earlier. There was a
Yeah.
time I had to do cardio in the morning. And towards the end of my prep, when I was really, I guess, close to the finish line, when I had to practice the most and everything, because it was my first time doing it,
Right.
I was probably spending a good 4 hours a day on between lifting, between posing, between cardio sessions and things like that. And that's just time spent actually exercising and stuff. That doesn't even include the shaving and the meals and this and that. So
Sure. Sure.
it can be pretty exhausting.
I bet. And so you mentioned you had a coach. Now, did your coach help you with all the, all the posing and stuff too? Because I know that, and I was going to ask next too, like, when you're being judged, I know the judges are looking for very specific, poses that target certain muscle groups and all that. So is that something he helped you with as well?
He was great. I mean, my coach, we got lucky. We hired a really good guy with a lot of experience. He works mostly with females, but he's definitely coached males to the stage. He's competed himself,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows so much about the posing, and he's just got a really good eye for the sport. So
Cool.
the posing generally, I mean, it's set up to showcase each muscle group in its best light, and kind of I guess give you the most aesthetic appearance in each different pose to really show off the human body. I mean, in all different parts of it.
Sure.
So he worked with me. I had mandatory poses which I had to do, and then there are some choice poses which you can kind of, there's different most muscular poses you can do, for example. Or I had to do a classic pose, which for my classic physique category, I could choose between a number of different poses for that. But for the
Mhm.
most part, it's about mastering like your quarter turns and your mandatory poses, because those are the ones that are going to make or break, if you're going to win the competition against other guys, how you stack up against them. And the posing is definitely, for me, it was mentally, it was the thing I didn't know, like, going into this. I've been
Right.
training for a long time. I've been bodybuilding, I mean, more or
Yeah.
less for a while now.
Yeah.
Just 'cause naturally, that's kind of how I like to train. But posing was so foreign to me. I felt like a fool doing it at the beginning, and slowly but surely, I mean, I practiced every single day, and I'm
Mhm.
I'm proud of the work ethic that I had behind this, because I've never
Oh,
dedicated
sure.
myself.
Yeah.
I've never dedicated myself so hard to anything like this. It was just, full on, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. No. And so now when you mentioned like your competition, now were you in a specific weight class or size class? I mean, you said classic physique, right? So
Yeah. So that's another good question. I actually competed in 6 different divisions, which
Oh, wow.
I had to register. I was up on stage a lot for my first show.
Mhm.
And the reason why I competed in 6 different divisions is because when you first start out, you get the opportunity to compete in a class of true novices, where as a true novice going into competition, it's for first time competitors only. So as a true novice, I wanted to get involved in that class and just show off that I was a first time competitor.
Mhm.
Then there's novice, right? So not novice is for anybody who hasn't won a novice competition before.
Okay.
So I'm actually no longer going to be allowed to compete in novice because I did win a novice class, and
Oh, okay.
I won novice and I placed second in true novice or second in novice in bodybuilding. So I'm no longer allowed to do novice. Now I'm allowed to do just open, and open is anybody who's, I mean, pretty much everybody. Anybody who's not a pro.
Right.
People that have won novice competitions before, or just people who don't really feel like doing novice, just want to register for the open. Open is the broadest group of guys, the heaviest competition. I mean, that's the real deal there. So
Okay.
like I said, I won some medals there. I got a couple of first place in some of the novice categories and a couple of second places as well. And then in the open classes, I took home 1 3rd place in the classic physique, which
Oh,
classic
wow.
physique open, I was really proud of that. Considering this is it's actually an untested organization, meaning that, a lot of my competition was probably on drugs and stuff to get up there, or
Yep.
steroid use and stuff is very common in the sport, and it's something that
Sure.
I've never done myself. I've just
Mhm.
trained really hard and had good genetics and good luck, and I've been doing it for a long time. So for me to get third, I just felt like that was an achievement in itself, because um, you know it's untested waters.
Yeah,
uh,
no, and I mean, that's great, man, because like, you and I talked last weekend on the phone, and I feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there about bodybuilding and the sport. And if you go on YouTube and you follow some of the guys who compete professionally, or they'll almost promote drug use, and it's kind of, I mean, I know that, like you said, it's common, but some of this stuff, it seems, can be pretty dangerous. And for for young kids who are kind of just looking to get into it, it would be pretty easy, I think, for someone to get in over their head pretty quick if they didn't have the right trainer, right information, all that.
Absolutely. And actually that's one thing that you're seeing more and more in the gyms. I mean, especially where I am right now in Tampa and St. Pete, this area down here. I see a
Mhm.
lot of young kids that have just been training for a couple of years that are getting involved with taking different kinds of steroids and stuff. And honestly, I think it's part of that culture of just instant gratification or wanting to look good for social media. Like, since Instagram is really blown up and everyone wants to
Right.
have the best profile on there. I mean, thankfully, I didn't have to deal with that when I was first starting out training and everything. I mean, I didn't even have a smartphone until I was like 26 years old. So,
I remember seeing you down at yeah, I used to run into you all the time down at the Planet Fitness on Riverdale, you know?
yeah, that was my first gym. That was my
Yeah.
first gym. But yeah, back to what you were saying about the drugs and stuff. It's actually kind of sad. A lot of these younger kids getting involved, and they everyone just wants a quick fix, or a shortcut to get those results. And unfortunately, even out of the population that does use the drugs, only some of them are going to look like bodybuilders. I mean,
Right,
you got to
right.
have a certain set of genetics to even
Mm.
have that type of physique. And luckily for me, like, I've had those types of genetics, and I've been training for a long time, and finally gotten the chance to express those genes, and
Yeah.
you know build a solid amount of muscle, because it takes a while to build muscle. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I built most of my muscle, well, the early foundation in high school, and then just continued pumping up through college and stuff. But
Mhm.
it's definitely taken a long time to get to where I'm at right now. And a lot of food. I've always eaten pretty big too. I'm fortunate to have a fast
Sure,
metabolism.
yeah. Yeah, no,
Um,
and you're right about that, because like I think about, I mentioned how like a lot of my family, like my uncles and my cousins, they were all football players, and big strong guys, but not they even at the height of their football playing, they didn't look like bodybuilders. They
sure.
just, and it's, they were more into like the whole powerlifting thing. But you're right. I mean, it's not everybody's genetically predisposed to do that kind of thing. And, I mean, you see guys in the NFL, offensive linemen in the NFL, some of the strongest guys in the world, but, can't bend down and tie their sneakers probably. Like, it's like, but so yeah, everybody's different, and it's all about, kind of finding what you enjoy. I've been frustrated lately with this ankle injury, not to be able to really kind of had to stay off my feet a lot, but it's getting better. So hopefully, next couple of weeks I can get back. I mentioned to you I've been cycling a lot and doing that kind of stuff. Get back to that. And all right, so let me see the next slide. What do I have next here? I think so. You had mentioned that to get into kind of competition form, you had to shed a lot of weight. So I think the next one is
actually, I could talk briefly on another, back to like some of the weight classes. Yes, okay. That's a good segue into this next little piece here. So on the left, you see me on stage there, pretty peeled, and on the right, oh geez, I'm probably at least 20 pounds heavier on the right, and this is
right.
After I've been eating up and filling back out after the show. One of the things that you talked about before was, did I compete at a certain weight class or division or anything like that? And there are weight classes for the sport, and I was 2 days before the show and I was weighing around like 202 pounds, and I was like, man, because I had come from like a place when I first started my prep, I was like 225, 227, and I had dieted diligently down to like 210 roughly, but then something with the manipulation of my diet on that last week before the show, adding in the carbs and things like that. And you wouldn't even think this. I definitely wouldn't have thought. I added carbs and my weight started just dropping. Like,
wow.
It was crazy. I mean, and I lost from like 210 down to like, I was waking up in the morning at like 202, and I'm like thinking to myself, wow, maybe I can make the light heavyweight class and be the biggest light heavyweight guy on stage,
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be awesome. I feel like I'll win at that weight class, because I'm like at the cap of that at 198. I haven't weighed under 200 pounds since high school. So I ended up, what I look back on now, and it's a learning lesson, I think it was somewhat a mistake. I still had a great experience, obviously.
Did it take a toll on you at all? I mean, did you feel depleted or anything like that?
So that's the thing. I ended up coming from 202, and the light heavyweight class is 198. So I was like, man, this is the day before the show. I'm going to cut those last 4 pounds. Like the wrestler in me is coming out, trying to cut those last pounds. So I sweated it out on an elliptical, wearing a bunch of layers. I hit a sauna for like 50 minutes. Just dripping sweat. I was driving around in my car with the AC off in Florida with the windows rolled up, just pouring sweat. I lost all that water weight. I was miserable. I got home and I literally lost like 4 or 5 pounds of water weight in like 3 hours or some dumb shit. And and meanwhile, like, I'm not drinking water. Like the last day before the show, like we had started to like kind of cut my water balance at a certain point. Pretty much I wasn't drinking any new water at this point either. So I was pretty dehydrated, and I thought that the next morning after, once I made the weight class, cool. And I did make light heavyweight. I weighed in at 197, which is just insanely light for me. Right now I'm actually back up to 225. It's crazy. And that the show was just 2 weeks ago. So
right. Yeah. This wasn't long ago. Right.
But 197 was a very dehydrated man. I shouldn't have walked in at that weight. And what happened because of that was I actually was a little bit smaller and not quite as full on stage as I should have been, or as would have been ideal for me to really like give the best look that I think I could have. Not to say I wasn't conditioned. I'm really proud of my conditioning. I just think that I cut too much water and couldn't fill back out quite in time for the stage. So actually, as the day went on, the show day, I actually started looking better and better as I ate more and more and drank more and more water and stuff. I started to look better.
Right.
But, you live and you learn. If I do this again in the future, which, I probably will at some point, I wouldn't go for that light heavyweight class. I would probably try to come in around 210 pounds and just be a lot fuller. I think I would showcase more of my muscle that way. I think some of my muscles looked a little bit smaller on the stage. Conditioning.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that leads me to I think what I have is my last slide. So, what is, let me just move this here. What is, what's next? I know you mentioned your wife's competing next, right?
she's competing next. That's really what's next. So the cool thing is, I am back to full energy. I've been eating good, and poor, she's just, I try to sometimes hide from her when I'm eating because I feel bad. She's not eating like I am.
Mm.
But the next step for me, one thing that I realized during this show and during this experience was I had to put so much energy into my bodybuilding that it took me away from other areas of my life that are really important to me.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm actually not doing the next show, I was going to do her show with her.
Oh, okay.
I decided to back out from that so that I could be more of a support for her, because now that I
Yeah.
know what goes into it, I know that she's going to need that support. Um, and just to get back to other roles in my life, like I've got a household to take care of, and I have a little
course.
girl here that I take care of, my daughter.
Mhm.
You know, there's just a lot more to life than bodybuilding, and you
Of
know,
course.
someone's got to bring home the bacon, and somebody's got to, you know, be there as a father and as a husband. And right now, I think my family will definitely benefit more from having me at full strength. My job will benefit from having me more at full strength. So,
Yep. I was going
uh,
to ask about that. Have you been able to get back to your training, your training schedule, your clients, all that,
yeah, I mean, I've definitely been more productive at work since.
Mhm.
And I've actually started to take a new focus too. So my wife's culinary business, her meal prep company, I think one thing that I'm trying to do during this time is actually take that to the next level and get involved with that. So I've been really focused on business. I've been kind of hashing out a business plan. So stay tuned. We might you know, have some more
So is
exciting
it, I
news
mean,
on
is that
that.
anything you'd like to promote right now? Is it, is there a name? Is there anything people should look out for or can, support?
Yeah, well, right now we're called Chloe's Kitchen,
Okay.
and she does meal prep for fitness enthusiasts and busy on the go professionals in the Tampa Bay area. So if
Cool.
anybody's out here listening, then absolutely feel free to, you know, reach out to us. You can find us Chef Chloe 813 on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, and also in the future, I don't want to divulge any real details yet because I'm still hashing it all out. But we may
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
scaling this thing up and changing the name, rebranding, and really taking it to the next level. So that's kind of another thing that I'm working on.
Okay.
Uh, I'm really excited to be back to full steam and just taking part in other things in my life now. At this point, it was a really cool experience, but it's definitely not something that I can do again right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like it, it really, you sacrifice a lot and it's good to pursue those things that, those kind of itches you need to scratch. I mean, this podcast for me is one of those things, dude. I've been thinking about doing this for years now. And I finally just said, you know what? I've got this Zoom account. I've got, friends who can speak, intelligently to certain topics I'm interested in. Why not? And it's going really well. And I think I told you the other day, I just recently hung out with your brother. We're doing some music stuff. So I'm a teacher. So this summer's kind of been a good time for me to pursue some creative avenues. And,
Yeah, it
so
sounds like it, especially with that foot. You might as well get creative, right?
yeah, I mean, luckily that happened. Not, it's been about 2 weeks since that happened. So most of my summer wasn't taken up by that. I was actually in the process of training to do a bike ride up to Acadia National Park in Maine, which, that'll be a bit of a trek, but it's something that hopefully I can get back to in the next couple weeks. I've got a follow-up appointment. And they said if that all goes well, I can start cycling again. So, do
Well,
you,
best of luck with that, man. That sounds like an awesome thing that you're doing there.
thanks. Yeah. And
I
I
hope
guess, any
that-
advice you have for, rehabbing injuries or, strengthening up muscles again, should I just go slow and easy? I mean,
well, slow and easy is always good. I was gonna say, you know, you really want advice, you got to come see me in the gym, and I can assess you and help you out with that. I mean, that's one of my
right.
strong suits in my personal training. Is I'm really good with kind of taking people through safely rehabilitating injuries and stuff like that. But my best advice would be definitely don't do anything that causes pain. If it starts to act up on you, lay off it, and just go slow, because it's not worth, you know, the setback of just trying to push it too early and then re-injuring it or anything
Right.
like that. It'll come back in due time, but until then, pick up your guitar and just jam out, man. You know, do other things.
Oh, yeah, we'll do. Yeah. Any messages you would like me to relay to your brother if I see him anytime soon?
Get your ass in the gym, bro. I know you failed. I know that you've been slacking. He came out to visit me recently, and he was, he's like, after a couple days of spending time with me and Chloe, he was like, oh man, I feel really good. He's waking up on time. He's going to bed on time. He's eating some good food, and he's hitting the damn gym. Who knew,
Yeah. No, that's
And
good.
then I told him when he gets home, he should stick with some of these new habits of, maybe not going to bed at 3 a.m. because you're up on Reddit all night or whatever.
He is a night owl, man. The night I
Yeah.
stayed over there, we were messing around in his studio. He was like, he's like, I could stay up all night. I'm like, dude, I gotta go to bed. Like, and I ended up falling asleep on the couch with Groot that night. But yeah, he was like, he was still up when I got up and drove home at like 2, 3 in the morning. Like
No, I don't doubt it. Well, I'll tell. My best thing is for him is just he'll live and learn, I guess, as he gets older.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yep.
All right, well, let me get this off here. All right, Steve. Well, that's pretty much all I got, man. But
Cool.
thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know you had mentioned that, maybe if Chloe, if your wife, if she ever wanted to come on and, I could set this thing up in my kitchen and she could show me how to cook something healthy or, something like that. That would be really
man.
cool.
She would absolutely love that. So whether that's sooner or later, whenever, we're gonna keep making progress on her business anyways. So maybe after we do the rebranding and all that, that would be a good time. Or if she's up for it, anytime.
Yeah, and just when we're done here, text me again the name to her Instagram page, and I'll put it up in the description on YouTube and all that too.
Sure.
So
That's awesome, man. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that, and it's been a pleasure being on with you.
yeah, all right, man. Well, be safe, be well, and we will talk to you soon.
Same. See you
All
later,
right,
man.
see you, buddy.